feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood, feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best. Yeah, hey, every day can be a better day despite the challenge. All you gotta do is leave it better than you found it. It's gonna get.
What is sport pedagogy? Sport pedagogy is a discipline or sports science that focuses on educational processes via exercise, movement, play, and sports. In its broadest context, sport pedagogy includes physical activity, physical education, wellness, and sport for all age groups. It is evidence-based and practices-focused. It also built on a foundation of effective teaching and coaching. Then, it aimed at promoting participants' learning. Therapy, sport pedagogy is closely connected with the sport didactic. Furthermore, during a decade, sport pedagogy is increasingly interested in exercise, play, and sporting during the whole lifespan of human beings, ranging from elementary education to late adulthood. Analogous to society development, there is an increasing interest in doing research on the possibility of handling social, cultural, and gender-related in a constructive way. It also researching on providing people with special needs and inclusive arrangement of exercise and sport offers. This development in digitalization within the field of transmitting and arranging the education and sports are also coming more and more into focus within sport pedagogical research. Next, we continue with areas of learning and development in sport pedagogy. Based on Galahu, state that there are 4 areas of learning and development such as motor development, movement or skill acquisition, cognitive learning, and childhood growth. For the motor development is referred to the development of a bone, muscle, and ability to move around and manipulate their environment. Motor development can be divided into 2 sections, which are gross motor development and fine motor development. Next is movement or skill association. In simplified term, skill association refer to voluntary control over movement of joints and body segment in an effort to solve a motor skill problem and achieve a task goal. Besides, cognitive learning is a type of learning that is active, constructive, and long-lasting. It engages people in the learning processes, encourage them to use their mind more effectively to make connection when learning new things. Last but not least, childhood growth. This childhood growth is referred to the increases in height and weight on other body change that happen among the children. So that's all for me. We will proceed with the next presenter.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nazlaika binti Afizan. So today I would like to explain more about motor behavior, motor control, motor learning, and motor development. Okay, what is motor behavior? Motor behavior is the study how we produce our movement. Of movement includes gaits, which is running, walking, grasping, balance, reaching, and the last one is reflexes. The psychological and neurophysiological investigation of motor behavior are divided into 3 disciplines, which is motor control, motor learning, and motor development. Motor control is the study of neurophysiological factors that affect of human movement. Motor control theory includes production of reflexive, adaptive, automatic, and voluntary movement and the performance of efficient, coordinations, goal-directed movement patterns, which is involved in multiple body systems such as input, output, and central processing, and multiple levels of nervous system. Motor learning is a subdiscipline of motor behavior that examines how people acquire skills. It's also classified as a relatively permanent change in the ability to execute a motor skill as a result of practice or experience. Motor development is changes in motor behavior which reflects the interaction of maturing organism and its environment. It's also known as changes in movement competency from infancy to adulthood and involve many aspects of human behavior, both as they affect the development movement and as a movement affect them. Motor control and motor learning is a knowledge discipline in sports science that focuses on understanding the process of executing movement and acquisitions specific of motor skill.
Hi, Assalamualaikum to my lecturer Miss Atira binti Abdul Rahman and all my fellow friends. My name is Muhammad Faiz bin Azmi and I'm gonna present about motor skill of human. Okay, first of all, what is motor skill? Motor skill are action require the use of our muscle to make our bodies move and do the activities we want to do and achieve desired outcome. Motor skill have generic motor skill and secondary motor skill, which is generic motor skill is a basic skill that do not involve complicated movement or technique required to perform the movement. It does not involve many feedback during its performance and does not process much information. This skill is form the foundation of more complex skill. The example of this skill is such as running, jumping, throwing, and so on. Okay. For secondary motor skill, it is a complex skill that requires complicated movement and involve technique to perform an action or skill. This skill is involve many feedback and a lot of information must be processed to perform a movement. This skill also must be learned and practiced frequently in order to get mastery of a certain movement. The example of secondary motor skill is layup shot in basketball, serving in tennis, and jump smash in badminton.
Okay, thank you for the previous presenter. My name is Muhammad Irfan Shafi bin Norazan, and today I will be presenting about classification of motor skill. Classification of motor skill divided by two, which is one dimension, and the second one is two dimension. Okay, I will be present to you guys for the first one, which is one dimension classification system. For the one dimension classification system, the first one we have size, stability, and specificity. For the first one, which is size, it has two: gross motor and fine motor. Okay. Okay, the first one, gross motor skills require the use of large musculature to achieve the goal of the skill. A motor skill that place less emphasis on precision and is typically the results of multi-limb movement. In the easiest way to understand, gross motor skill is a movement that use a large group of muscle to move, okay, such as walking, jumping, running, and so on. Okay. Next we go to fine motor. Fine motor skills requires the control of small muscles to achieve the goal of the skill. A motor skill involving very precise movement normally accomplished using smaller musculature. Okay. As I said before, for the gross motor skill, use a large group of muscle. But for the fine motor skill, it just use the the minimum group of muscle. Okay, this means that it is very small. Okay, understand? For the example, it is like switching off or on the fan. Okay, clicking the lighter. Okay, understand. Thank you. Next. Okay, for the next one is specificity of where action begin or end. There is three main categories. The first one is discrete, the second one is continuous, and the third one is serial motor skill. Okay. For the first one, discrete motor skill. Define beginning and end point, usually requiring a simple movement, such as flipping a light switch. It only has one movement. So such as for the next another example, I give you if we throw the ball, we just have one movement. Okay, the next one, continuous motor skill. Okay, arbitrary beginning and end point. This skill involve repetitive movement. For example, steering a car, cycling, and walking. You see, it's repetitive. Another example I can give you, if we skipping, we jump, and jump. So we do a repetitive movement. Okay, next, serial motor skill. Serial motor skill is involving a series of discrete skill, stable and predictable environment, allowing the performer to control the situation. Okay. Okay, the last one for one-dimension classification system is stability. Stability of the environmental context. Environmental refers to the object, the person acting on the characteristic of the context in which the person performed the skill. Okay, for this, the third classification, stability, it divided by two main concepts, which is closed motor skill and open motor skill. Okay, for the closed motor skill, perform in a stable or predictable environment where the performer determine when to begin the action. For example, picking up a cup while sit. So it is in a stable condition and predictable, as you can see. And the second one is open motor skill. Open motor skill involving a non-stable, unpredictable environment where an object or environmental context is in motion and determine when to begin the action. For example, running a race with other runners. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
I will continue with multi-dimensional classification system. This classification system are divided by two, which is environment context and function of the action. For the environment context, it is same as open and closed motor skill. It can be determined whether the environment is stationary or in motion. In the other hand, the stationary environment context is an unchanging environment, which is the performer perform an action that is already set up on his or her mindset without any interaction from other factor. Besides, this situation so not require fast decision because we determine the action that we want to perform. The example of this action is penalty kick in football, shooting a free throw in basketball, and so on. Furthermore, for in-motion environment context, it is a changing environment where the performer initiate his or her action from the external sources or stimulus and then respond to that stimulus. The performer did not know what kind of stimulus they might be faced. Therefore, the performer needs to make a quick decision and they might respond in a variety of ways in order to react with the stimulus. The example of the situation in football, which is a defender is tackling a ball from the opponent to block the opponent from scoring a goal. Okay, for second point of multi-dimensional classification system is function of the action. For this point, it can be determined when the performer performing of an action, whether the change of location during the action or maintain their body position. For example, serving technique in badminton. Serving technique in badminton indicate the athlete perform the technique while maintaining his or her body position without change the location. Next, the second example is defending technique in badminton. This action allow the athlete to move their body position and change the location. Okay, that's all from me. I hope this video will make you understand about motor skill. Thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aifa Adila binti Abdul Razak, and today I'm going to present to you about fundamentals movement skills. What is fundamentals movement skills? Fundamental movement skills are specific sets of skills that involve different body parts such as feet, legs, trunk, head, arms and hands, such as running, hopping, jumping and throwing. These skills are building blocks for more complex and specialized skills that kids will need throughout their lives to competently participate in different games, sports and recreational activities. Okay, fundamental movement skills are very important to kids' physical development. When confident and competent in these skills, children can develop sport-specific and complex movement skills. So there are three categories of movement skills, which is locomotor skills, body management skills, and also object control skills. So let's through one by one. So what is locomotor skills? Locomotor skills is involve transport of body in any direction, such as crawling, hopping, swimming, skipping and running and several else. So second categories of fundamental movement skills are body management skills that was involve balancing of body while still or while in motion. These skills involve static and dynamics balancing, which is rolling, climbing, twisting, bending and turning when go for certain direction. Okay, lastly, object control skills that requires controlling implements such as pad, racket or object like ball either by hand or by foot. For example, like kicking the ball, striking the bat, catching in baseball and dribbling in soccer. So these skills also not only helps the kids to play in the sport, but also able to help them to help during their lifestyle to be a better person and also to prevent more injuries. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, so next is about my part. Or before that, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Yahnowi. So I would like to present for my slide. So for my slide is why is fundamental motor skill very important. So fundamental movement skills are very important to a child's physical development. When confident and competent in these skills, children can develop sports-specific and complex movement skills. These skills allow children to enjoy sports and physical activities, which means fundamental motor skills are very important for us. We are from a child to adult, so it means that everyone has motor skills. So it starts from the basic. So from the basic is from the child, and people taught us about everything, how to kick, how to run, how to jump and everything. So these are the motor skills that we have learned in basic in children. So that means that's why in baby our parents have taught us about how to walk in baby. Yes. So that's all from me. So I would like to pass for my next presenter.
Assalamualaikum to my beloved lecturer Miss Nur Atirah binti Abdul Rahman. My name is Muhammad Zulhairi Fikri bin Zulkifli, and I'm here to present to you regarding the factor influence the development of FMS. It can be divided into two, which is child and environment. So let's get started with the child. Firstly, age. As the age increase, they will be more exposed to the environment, and FMS will increase by time. Children move to learn and learn to move. Young children are motivated and keen to master ways of moving, controlling their bodies, and coordinating their movements. Young children also actively involved in enhancing their cognitive abilities, developing a sense of autonomy and initiative, and in testing their limits. Next, for physics. For example, the size of child might be not comfortable or not suitable to do things that can improve the FMS and motor ability. If they have a small figure, things they can do are limits. So then health is important. If the child health is not stable, they cannot develop the FMS and motor ability. For example, having an asthma problem will block the child to do sport. Then physical activity of the child influence the FMS, because if the child is not spending their time playing sport, it will not develop. Early childhood teachers have long held a belief in the development of all aspects of a children's capabilities or intelligence. FMS needs to be nurtured not only because they are important for the child's long-term health and well-being, but because they support the child's physical development. Next, the child need to have interest in sport if they want to improve FMS. If they don't play, they will still improve but slowly. Lastly, they need to have motivation to practice. For example, parents need to keep motivate their children to play so that they can always build a new skill transfer. Okay, next we move to the second factor, which is environment. The first one is family values, expectation, and support. Means that how well the family support their children when they was child. It is important to fulfill their needed in order to develop the skill. The second one is the next community values, expectation, and support. All communities surrounding the children, especially the community nearer the residential area, have the biggest influence for them to develop the FMS and the motor abilities, so that it will give an impact for children. Third one is the cultural values, expectation, and support. As example, cultural at certain place is not living a healthy lifestyle when the parents don't give their child to go out and play in the playground, just play at home, so it will make the limited for develop abilities and skill. So it show the culture for certain places of their parents with pampered their child. The fourth one is opportunities to practice. Means that parents should bring out their child every evening or on weekend to playground or outside of their house by doing some physical activity to give them time to practice their FMS and motor abilities, so that it will give a better result for their development in skills. Therefore, in FMS, like all learning, is best supported when the school, family, and community work together with families and the community, because it can provide important knowledge and understanding about children's physical activities, as well as providing opportunities for them to be active and to practice FMS. As example, encouraging them sharing of dance, music, language, and games from diverse community enrich children's understanding of the purpose of FMS in their life. So speaking with families or member of the community about agreed and appropriate practice will develop shared meanings between home and school and help you in planning learning experiences. Extensive feedback come from other people outside of the child. There also many reasons for providing feedback. best describing what the child should do, you can guide the child in performing the skill proficiently. For example, remember to watch the ball. So as our understanding to all this point, the children should socialize with all people no matter in community, culture in that place. We must bring them to outside environment to make children more develop their FMS and motor abilities step by step. Okay, next we go through to the coaching. So definition of coaching. Coaching is unlocking a person potential to maximize their own performance. So we go to the principle and general practice in coaching. In sports science, also have coaching. So this is important because coaching also in teaching. No matter coach or leader or no matter who, coaching also in sport, but as long as the involvement of teaching, so we can also classify that as coaching. The pupil like coach, leader or your parent, they will develop and change and maintain behavior through children or participants that evolve. At the same time, develop a measurable, observable and accountable terminal level of performance. Then they will develop and establish a clear philosophy of coaching, then system to identify talent. So if do not have coaching and teaching progress, it is difficult to develop the FMS and any motor abilities and skill. That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, lastly, for the conclusion, okay, so the conclusion is learning movement skills can help children improve their strength, posture and sleep. So which means that not even in sports but in daily life, our life are really important for movement skill, how to sleep, how the posture, the right posture for sleep, how the right posture to lift up the box. Okay, all the children can benefit from doing activities that improve coordination, flexibility, balance, agility and speed. So means that which mean in even when getting older, okay, in teenager or what else, they will benefit it in more extreme, like such as like I said before, flexibility, coordination, balance, agility and speed. Okay. Last but not least, there are many benefits to learning movement skills. They help children improve their strength, postures and sleep, and enhance their confidence, social skills and sense of achievement. So that's all from us. I hope that Miss Atira could understand what have we talked about, present about, and I hope that you guys understand what we have been present about. So that's all from me, and that's all from us. Assalamualaikum and peace out.